Hi, this is Jennifer LeClaire, and this is Prophetic Reset, a series of conversations designed to help you press in to a better, a stronger, a more accurate, perhaps, understanding of prophetic ministry today. And I'm here with Apostle Ryan Lestrange and Apostle Brian Williams, and our topic for this episode is the church too dependent, over-dependent on prophets and personal prophecy? And I would say there's a part A, part B to that. Part of the church doesn't depend on prophets at all. They don't believe in prophets at all. But you know what? Somehow they get by. Now, I believe in prophetic ministry with every fiber of my being. I believe it's vital. I believe people get saved through prophetic ministry. They get healed through the ministry of a prophet. They're encouraged. They're equipped. So many things. I think we are doing the body of Christ a disservice if we neglect the ministry of the prophet. However, we need to have a balance here because there are some who don't believe in prophets, yet they are doing okay. They're led by the Spirit of God. But to neglect the prophets is also dangerous, but then to become over-dependent, where we are chasing prophecy instead of chasing God, I think that is even more dangerous than perhaps some of the other denominations who haven't fully yet embraced prophets. I think when we begin to chase prophets, I mean, listen, when I was first saved, I remember a major prophet coming to a church that I was ministering in, or that I was sitting in. And this major prophet, I mean, a world famous prophet, I won't call the name, but came in, and I was like, oh, he started prophesying to people. And I'm like, oh, let him pick me, I want a word, you know, and he didn't. And instead, this man who I admire called this other man out of the congregation and prophesied over him that he was a prophet. And I'm like, you know, I'm mad because this guy's, you know, I don't even like this guy. And you got my word. And so, but see, I was just freshly born again. So I think that when we're immature, or I don't mean that in a negative context, when we have not yet grown up, you know, we do tend to look to the prophets for a prophetic word. We haven't maybe learned how to hear the voice of God yet. We're looking for confirmation, which is not an unhealthy thing at all. But at some point, we have to sort of put our plug into the God source instead of the prophetic ministry. And if we get a prophetic word, hey, that's a bonus. But anymore, and I don't want anybody to prophesy to me for the most part, because you know what happens? Prophecy brings warfare. To me, people prophesy, and then they prophesy goofy stuff. You know, I'm going to move to Alaska, and, you know, I'm going to stop the Russians from invading, and that's my mantle and my mandate. And so anymore, the closer I get to God, the less I need prophetic words from other people. However, I still appreciate, even now, the ministry of the prophets in my life.
That's so good. I think this is a fascinating question. And I think, you know, I love prophecy, and we all do. And we know that Thessalonians says, despise not prophesying. We have and lead prophetic houses and prophetic places. But you're right. You can become dependent upon prophetic words. And I think, like, in my perspective, I need skilled prophetic words. And I understand, I do activation. I just did an activation at a friend's church a few weeks ago, and they had never done a prophetic activation. So I was trying to teach the basics of just getting the flow going. And this is so good for believers, but like, you're building something that's very strategic. It's very unique. You got to have strategic words. I've got to have strategic words. And predominantly, most of our fuel, if you will, is God speaking to us. So he certainly can use prophets to come in and activate and reaffirm, but I'm hungry for strategic words. Like, if someone's going to prophesy to me about the next phase of my life, I don't need just the general word. And I think there is maybe a difference too between believers prophesying, which is sort of just a simple, encouraging words, and good prophetic churches should have people activated that they can do that. They're not prophesying, you know, marriage and divorce and babies and dates and all that stuff. But then there is the office of the prophet that has a very different sphere of prophetic and governmental prophetic voice. But even in that case, they're invited in. It's not like some prophet just shows up at your church on Sunday and starts redirecting your whole flow. So do I think we are too dependent? I think at times we are. I do think skilled prophetic words can be very helpful for leaders, and for baby Christians, certainly learning general activation can be healthy.
Yeah. And I agree, obviously, with both of what you've just shared. I think one of the things that creates this overdependence on prophecy is that people see prophets and prophetic words as shortcuts to intimacy. So if you want a shortcut to get a word from the Lord, Go find the prophet. People will cross the world. They will go from sea to shining sea to hear a word from the Lord when you probably could have got that word if you would have got up at 5 a.m. and prayed.
Right.
So I think whenever prophecy or the prophets are treated that way as shortcuts to hearing from God, then of course we're going to create an overdependence on them. But again, long live the prophets. We value prophecy. My life, everyone's life that's in the spirit at some point is going to intersect with the role of the prophet. And my life wouldn't be what it is today. And I anticipate going forward, I'm going to always need it. So I don't want to speak on it in a way that makes people who are prophets or who are prophetic feel like they're not important. But there is some overdependence on it that we have to address.
Yeah, and one thing I like to add in is that some of the most profound directive words I've received have come to me through either prophetic dreams or times of prayer. I remember when I got the Revival Hub's word, I was just in prayer, which has been I don't remember how many years ago that was, but it's framed the whole season of time. We started out with the Revival Hub revelation. We've now come into Apostolic Hub revelation, and I'm sure we'll keep getting new dimensions of that. After I got that encounter in prayer, personal prayer, people began to confirm it. God began to use people. And I would say, like peeling the layers off an onion, they came in and shared insight. Now, a lot of people came in with stuff that was like, no, that doesn't fit here, but that what you said, that foundational, I've got to get God for myself is so important. And a prophetic church has got to train people to do that.
Yeah, well, so Awakening House of Prayer is a prophetic church and a house of prayer, and we have what we call prophecy rooms, which I know you all are familiar with. Maybe others watching aren't, but we invite people to come from all over the region, and they do. They come from all over the country to receive a prophetic word, to receive prophetic ministry. So we're not against personal prophecy. As a matter of fact, on Sunday morning, I'm always prophesying to somebody. Always. It's because God is there. He's moving. It's bubbling up, the Nabi prophet. And I'm always prophesying. So I don't despise that. I don't discourage that. When we get in trials sometimes we just can't even think straight, right? I mean, sometimes that I think is a vital time for a prophet to release a prophetic word. However, we must be careful that if we are going to go to a prophet, or position ourselves to receive a prophecy, we're in a trusted ministry. What concerns me is not that people want a prophetic word. That doesn't really concern me. Sometimes we all need a prophetic word, right? We need encouragement, we need comfort, we need exhortation. What troubles me, I think, more than that is when they go on everybody's Facebook Live, and they do this on mine too. I need a word. I need a word. I need a word. And then you have these unscrupulous types that will pimp them for money, pump them.
Here's my cash app.
Here's the cash app prophets.
The cash app prophets.
Last time I mentioned cash app prophets, my cash app got shut down. So thanks a lot, Brian. Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
No, but I think that's my concern is that people are they're looking to all these prophets. They don't even know if they're really prophets. They don't know if they're accurate. And the prophecy you don't judge is the prophecy that can derail your lives. That's my concern for the body, is not receiving prophetic ministry. I think that's healthy, but going and pursuing it from so many different people, and they're contradicting each other, and now you're more confused.
And I was going to say that I have had several times people come to me with prophetic words that I knew and trusted, but the words brought confusion. And I think of a recent time that I literally just kind of took the word to other senior counselors in my life because the word was very contradictory to what I had received from the Lord directionally. And we kind of sorted through that. And I've been in this for a minute. So for somebody that's new, I think there's a real word of warning in this session to say, we love prophecy. We all prophesy. I can't think the last time I preached, I did not prophesy because it's just such a natural rhythm for me that in the prayer, I'll start prophesying something to strengthen and encourage the people. But if you get too hungry for prophecy personally, and you are kind of searching for it everywhere, you'll get it, but it could have real repercussions. And I think that's the word of warning that we're giving.
Yeah. And I would say, too, just this thirst, as we like to say in our generation, this thirst for prophetic ministry, I think, again, I made this point a minute ago. It derives from this place of being not confident in your own ability to hear from the Lord. That's the beauty of the new covenant. Like the veil has been rent from top to bottom. We now have been granted access to the holiest place. That's a phenomenal revelation to think that you and I can actually go before God and find help in the time of need. So there's times, of course, where our sensors are low. We're not hearing clearly. And we thank God for the body because every joint supplies what's needed for the body. But again, I think it goes back to if we could rather cultivate an ear to hear the word of the Lord, a lot of this thirst to have someone else tell us what God is saying for our life would not be there.
I agree. And, I think it's healthy for all of us to have a pastor in our lives. I think we all need a pastor. And I think we all need a prophet. I think we all need an apostle. I think we all need a teacher. We need the fivefold. The fully equipped believer has all these 5 graces. And, we all need to tap into all these ministries. Listen, in the next segment, we are going to talk about, is all prophecy conditional? Is it conditional? Is it not conditional? When is it conditional? Why is it conditional? What is this? Because many people still misunderstand the nature of prophetic words, even the nature of the Word of God. We're going to dive into that a little bit deeper in the next segment. Thanks for joining us on Prophetic Reset. A reset of the prophetic movement is upon us. The second wave of prophets is rising in this hour. We stand at the edge of a new era in the prophetic. We're gathering the international prophetic community at the Global Prophetic Center, a hub for prophetic training, prophetic labs, summits, networks, and lighthouses. It's time for prophets to go deeper. It's time for seers to soar. It's time for prophetic voices to rise up and decree what says the Spirit of God with accuracy that causes the world to pay attention. The Global Prophetic Center offers proven prophetic systems and structures to equip you to walk worthy of your calling and to prophesy with precision, boldness, diplomacy, and wisdom. Get hands-on training and mentoring in a safe environment that breeds true prophetic community and learning. Receive impartation and activation. Sharpen your gift and avoid prophetic pitfalls. Get commissioned. Get networked. Get sent out with the word of the Lord in your mouth and the confidence to release it. Begin your journey today by applying at globalpropheticcenter.com.